these two have really, like, seen me through a lot of crap. And this has been, like, really my joy for the last, I don't know. How long have we been doing this?
About 6 months.
So this has really been my joy. This has
it.
really been my joy, and they are such a big part of it. So I couldn't imagine doing this with anybody else.
Melissa, Hallie, Courtney, thank you guys for being on. Welcome to the middle.
Thank you so much for having us. We're so happy to be here.
I am so excited. I've been looking forward to this all week, to this recording, and I want to jump right in. I want to get all of y'all's opinions. So we're a couple weeks into the season now. We've kind of seen some things play out. So let's go back to opening day. What was the vibe check for everyone? How were you feeling for your team across the board? Let's start, Courtney. I want to go to you.
So vibe check on opening day. So for me, most people that listen to the podcast know that I am a huge Ryan O'Hearn fan. So Ryan O'Hearn now used to play for the Baltimore Orioles, who are still my favorite team. But he has since signed with the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I was watching the Pittsburgh Pirates game with great intensity on opening day. And the number one thing that no one anticipated from opening day was Paul Skeens getting taken out in the first inning. That was absolutely insane. And I think that over the last couple of weeks, for me, that's been the running theme, is that things are not playing out the way we anticipated, sort of league-wide. A lot of the players that everyone was really excited about were on the IL to start the season. You know, Kyle Stowers, who had a huge breakout year last year, Gavin Lux, on the IL to start the season. Jackson Holliday still had his broken hamate bone. And that was the number one thing. The first day of spring training, 3 players all went down with the exact same injury. Francisco Lindor, Corbin Carroll, and Jackson Holliday all broke their hamate bone, which was like so random.
Which is the first time I ever heard about
Same.
that bone, by the way.
Same.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for me, I think overall, I was really pleased with how the Pirates played on opening day. I was also really pleased with how the Orioles played on opening day because they won. Overall, though, I'm really, really happy with what I'm seeing, especially watching a brand new team. I'm kind of getting used to all these guys. I'm really excited and really hopeful about what I see with Pittsburgh. In regards to Baltimore, I'll let Melissa talk a little bit more about Baltimore because she's much more Baltimore focused than I am right now. But shout out to Baltimore, who just dropped their new City Connect uniform today because it's fire.
They did. All right, Melissa. Yeah, Melissa, tell us about Baltimore.
You know, I try not to judge anything based on opening day because, like I've told Courtney and Hallie before, opening day for us last year was amazing, and then our season tanked. So I try not to base a whole season off of opening day. We had a good opening day. We won. I would say what I am surprised about the most with the Orioles is given the strength of our lineup, we are not getting as many hits as I would have expected. And we did have a little bit of a rough patch. We got swept by the Pirates last weekend, but we are getting better. We just swept the White Sox yesterday. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what's going to happen this weekend. We're going into a series with the Giants. I'm going to one of those games. I'm very excited about that. But yeah, I mean, like there's some people that I'm really liked how they're producing. Taylor Ward has been amazing. He is getting, even when he's not hitting, he's getting on base. Gunnar Henderson has started to really make a little bit of a turnaround. He's gotten a home run the last few games. But there's other players I'm wondering when they're going to start hitting the ball a bit. And I'm going to call out, I hate to say it, but I'm wondering a little bit about Pete Alonso. We paid a lot of money for Pete Alonso.
Yes.
Everyone's very excited about Pete Alonso. I'm excited about Pete Alonso. Whether he's hitting or not, I think he's been great for our clubhouse already, and I think he's going to be a great mentor for some of our younger players. But I've heard he's a great bat, and I have not really seen that bat yet. So I'm looking forward to him getting settled and hopefully getting some more hits. So,
And you know, maybe I say it a lot in the season, early in the season. Maybe the bats are warming up. I'm a Tigers gal, so you know, our season was rocking last year until the All-Star break, and then we just went down a toilet hole for the rest of the year. So I'm also I'm convincing myself right now because I think we're 4-9 as of this recording. So I'm telling myself maybe it's gonna be the opposite this year. Maybe we're just really gonna tank till the All-Star break, and then we're gonna have this meteoric rise between now and the make it to the World Series and all that.
I do think it's better when it's like a slow ramp up. Like I would rather us lose more games at the beginning part of the year and then win more games later part of the year. Like if we're gonna have us just slowly ease into the season and then, start really getting better as we go.
Yes, I believe that too, and then, like, in game 2, I find myself, like, screaming at the TV and be like, "What are you guys
Yeah.
doing?" And then I'm just like I'm yelling at Verlander. I can't yell at him for the next 15 games, but, that's just how I do it, so Hallie, what about you?
So I have a deep soft spot in my heart for teams with low stats.
I
Uh,
love it!
but the main 2 teams
Welcome to the Tigers, Hallie. You can
I know.
come with me.
Well, you're talking to a Twins fan.
Yeah, but you did good right now. You just did good compared to us.
F for now. But, what I've been most excited about, so our local team is the Rays, and so, I spend the most of my time watching them play,
Mhm.
and I'm really excited that they're back in the Trop this year. I've already talked a couple times about how excited I am that the Stingrays are back in their tank in the stadium. I think that's just a sign for good things to come, and whether that means winning or not, it remains to be seen.
How much is it a chicken and the egg? Is it the fan experience that drives, getting people to come to games, getting people to tune in that then drives the performance, or do you have to focus on the performance then to get the fan experience to where it is? I think it's a fascinating
I
question.
feel like there's a little bit of both because, I mean, the Rockies are a great example. Coors Field is always packed, but last year, the Rockies performed really poorly. People are still showing up in droves, though, because they like being at that field. They provide a good experience. But then you also have other. I think it also depends on the density of the population where you are, because there are good teams that are in less densely populated areas who don't see as much as much attendance at their stadiums.
Mhm.
So I think that's so fascinating. I'm right there with you, but talk about things that we weren't expecting this year. I was not expecting the Rockies to play as good as they are.
There was I saw it on the very first day before anything had kicked off, and it was like, nobody look, but the Rockies are tied for first
Right?
place.
I mean, good for them. That's what I honestly wanted for them. I felt bad for them that they had such a rough season last year. And they got one of our pitchers, the Orioles pitchers, and apparently he is doing well for them. So Sagano's doing good. So I'm glad.
We do have Paul DePodesta of Moneyball fame, so hoping he's gonna, kinda come in and help. If anyone, listening is a Rockies fan and they're on the email list, you got an email from him about, I don't know, a week ago, and I think he's done a really good job of setting the expectation already of, like, "Look, we're making a lot of changes, but it's internal and then outward, so you might not see a lot of the stuff that we're doing. It might not show up automatically on day 1. It might not even show up the first half of the season, but that's, like, to make a lasting change with this franchise, we can't it's like any company that you work
Yeah,
for, you can't just change overnight and expect it to be just, rainbows and butterflies.
exactly.
Speaking of stadiums, what stadiums have y'all been to? And if an easier question, what one haven't you been to? And do you have a favorite?
So I grew up in Baltimore. I grew up going to Oriole Park at Camden Yards, so I was very spoiled by my stadium experience. So I told you shortly before we started recording, Megan, that this past weekend I just went to PNC Park for the first time. Again,
So
I was gonna say
cute.
Melissa and I actually met for the first time this past weekend at PNC Park. We had
Oh, wow!
we
Yeah,
were
we did.
strictly online friends before then. Like, Hallie and I are, like, IRL besties, but Melissa, being so far away, we hadn't actually met in person until we went to the Orioles-Pirates game, which was crazy.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
I think that a lot of people are justified when they say that PNC is the most beautiful ballpark. Do I feel like the experience lands at top tier where most people list it? I personally do not. But again, I grew up spoiled going to Oriole Park at Camden Yards, which I consider to be a perfect ballpark. Fight with me. Um, Hallie and I also do go
Uh,
to the Trop quite a bit. So we've been
Mhm,
there.
mhm.
We really enjoy that fan experience. I don't understand why people list that so low on their list because I think
It's because it's an indoor, like, don't like tennis bubble dome style stadium, and people just really hate those.
Who
They're really hard
cares?
to play in because the ball blends in with the ceiling, and so it's hard to catch.
I
It's hard
love that
to
that's the
Here's the
complaint.
thing though.
Yeah.
I
that's well, that was the complaint about, the Metrodome, which was the same style of
Well, I
roof.
don't understand why the fans are complaining about that because they're not the ones out on the field. That does not impact the fan
Well,
experience.
they complain because their teams don't
Oh, too
win
bad. Get
in those.
better.
Yes. That's why they complain.
Suck it up,
No
Buttercup.
excuses. Play like a
Period.
champion.
Practice in a tennis bubble more often.
So this season I have plans to visit Nats Park. I have plans to visit Busch Stadium. I have plans to visit Lone Depot Field in Miami. Those are the 3 that are on my list right now. I think tentatively I might also be going to Yankee Stadium and Citi Field up in New York. I'm not sure. And then I think there's also going to be a couple minor league ones in there too. So, I'm
Okay.
very much looking forward to going to Busch Stadium. I did take advantage. They're offering a $29 outfield ticket where you get unlimited concessions. So, I took advantage of that.
Rockies are doing that right now too. Hallie, what about you?
Nowadays, I'm very devoted to the Trop. Love Tropicana Field. I've never had a bad time there. Um, and I think it's lovely. I'm so excited to see the refurbishment done on it. And because I think we're trying to go see the Rays play the Twins in a couple weeks, and hopefully that works out. But I'm also loyal to Target Field. I think that's one of the most beautiful stadiums I've ever been to. When I was in high school, I did a lot of traveling with my family and my school, and just like school clubs. So I got to go see a Mariners game at their stadium, and that was lovely. I had a great time. I got to see a game or a Blue Jays game in their stadium, and that was a lot of fun. It brought back a lot of Metrodome memories. They have that same kind of tennis bubble roof that the Metrodome has. I spent a lot of time in the Metrodome as well. And so that style of stadium is so comforting to me because it's just like I'm 8 years old again and I'm really grumpy and the only thing that will fix it is a hot dog. I've been to Citi Field and that was really lovely. I don't remember it actually all that much because I was cold and it was a raining game. Yeah, I love an indoor I guess I love the indoor fields. But I think there's something lovely, about every baseball field, I'm sure. Ones that are on the top of my list that I'd love to go visit, I'd love to go to Coors Field because the fan experience there just seems so exciting. I'd
Come on
love to
out.
see Dinger in person. What a cutie
He
pie.
is the best. Oh, if you come on certain days, you get a Dinger bobblehead too. It's great. Also, if anyone else on this podcast, we'll just have a whole group. They're selling suites right now for really cheap. So if you get a bunch of people, it's a very good deal for a suite at Coors Field right now. Melissa, what about you?
Camden Yards. I go to Camden Yards very frequently. We go at least 10 times a year to Camden. I have been to Nats Park. I used to actually be a Nats fan before I was an Orioles fan, and I will go. I will take my daughter. We go together for the Battle of the Beltway. So when the Orioles go there, we'll go to Nats Park. I did go to PNC with saw Courtney, and then the only other parks that I've been to Fenway, but I was really really young when I went to Fenway, so I don't have a lot of really good memories of Fenway, but I have been there. And I have also been to, I can't remember the name of the park, but I've been to the Guardians. I've seen the Guardians
Oh,
play
yeah.
in Cleveland.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I got to see them once on a work trip. So I'm obviously biased. Camden Yards is my favorite.
I think it's standard. So it's funny. My favorite field of all time is Tiger Stadium. It's not Comerica Park. And Hallie, to your point, that's what I grew up on. I grew up on a stadium that, is kind of falling apart in some sections and the poles block your view. And we weren't all that rich, so we didn't have great seats, and that's kind of the memory, to me, baseball is not that great seat behind home plate. It's kind of the crappy seats a little bit farther out, and you're getting the hot dog and the drink, that to me is far more baseball than trying to get that really exclusive, club experience. But I did Tiger Stadium, I've done Comerica. I will say, and I do love my Tigers, but probably my favorite, even above Coors Field, is I love Oracle Park in San Francisco. It's gorgeous.
Mm,
It is really just it is everything I wanted it to be, I'll be honest, like,
mm.
just everything with the water. It's just a beautiful, beautiful stadium. I really don't care who plays there. The Tigers could move in there, and that would be fantastic. But I do love Oracle Park, and I wanna go to Pittsburgh. I That is on my list. I wanna go there, and I wanna go to Tampa. Those are the 2 that I don't know how I'm gonna get there, y'all. I gotta figure it out. I gotta haul children or, like, do a red eye and catch, like, a flight, but I'm gonna try to make it. We're gonna try to do it.
I've gotta get there too. I've been told.
We'll all meet there. We'll have an IRL meetup, as Courtney
Per.
says. We're in the beginning stages now, and I'm so curious because I've talked with a lot of my groups about that. Who is the main character of MLB right now?
Ooh.
Who is just kind of rising to that
Mm.
level?
I feel like in this day and age, it's hard not to say Shohei Ohtani.
I would say Ohtani, yeah.
And there's a good reason for that. I definitely agree with everybody who says that anytime you have an opportunity to watch Shohei Ohtani, you have an opportunity to watch history because with all due respect to all of the other players out there are a lot of players that I love. No one is doing what Shohei Ohtani is doing at the level at which Shohei Ohtani is doing it.
Or with the
It's
consistency he's doing
exactly.
it.
So
Yeah.
I do think every team has its main character, but if you had to ask me if there was one main character from MLB, it's Shohei Ohtani. I don't think I would get any arguments about it.
No, I mean, I had him down. I think especially now that he's kinda back in his
Mhm,
prime with hitting and pitching, like,
mhm.
I think every game he plays, it's kind of a global
Yeah.
event. I mean, we saw it in the World Baseball Classic, like, just every game that he plays is a
Yeah.
thing. It's a thing to tune
Yeah.
into.
Anyone who
Um
Mhm.
gets a new rule named after them, like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
Melissa, Haley, any other thoughts, or are
I
we all
was
just we're on the Ohtani train?
I
I
was
was gonna
thinking the
say
only one that
Shohei.
I think could compete is maybe Kike Hernandez because he's just simply so silly.
He is very main character energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
He
like
is.
but I don't think I think when you put him up against Shohei, yeah, he's kind of relief or comic relief best buddy
Well,
more
and
than the main character.
I think but that's a good point because I think, like, when we think of main character energy, you can think of the person who is no offense, but, like, it's very good, like,
Yeah.
Ohtani is just gonna
Mhm,
blow it out of the water anytime.
mhm.
But you can also think of, like, who has the story? Who has, like, just that it
Well,
factor right now?
and for me during the World Series, um, Vladdy was the main character of the World Series for me, and
Yeah.
I was really sad that the Blue Jays lost because I thought the storytelling for the Blue Jays was really, really good, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's not how it works for sports.
I
Yeah.
think that's another thing that kind of lends itself to me saying that like not everything is going the way everyone thought it would. And I
Mhm.
was talking about this with my mom of all people the other day. I think it kind of hinges, especially for the Blue Jays, it hinges around the fact that Bo Bichette is no longer in Toronto. And if you look at
Yeah.
how Bo Bichette is performing in New York, he's not performing well. And he's no like for the last how many ever years, like 3 or 4 years, it's been Bo and Vladdy. And they don't have that
Mhm.
dynamic anymore. So the team is already kind of um, grappling with that loss. Bo Bichette is now getting used to an entirely new team, an entirely new city to live in, and an entirely new way of playing because it's not used to what he's been doing. And it's just kind of thrown everything for a loop.
I agree with Shohei Ohtani because I've been thinking like, still sitting here thinking about it, and I'm gonna go with Shohei Ohtani, so that would've been my vote too. So
I also think we have a youth movement in MLB right now. Like, you have folks like you have Connor
Yep.
Griffin, who, like, I actually thought about him
yes.
for a second, like, is
I
he
did
the main
too.
character
I
right now?
think
I
last Friday, he was definitely the main character.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, then he's had a big week, plus he just got this
Yeah, he
huge
just got a huge
signing this week.
extension.
Massive. Yes.
Yeah, so I I am very curious to see. I don't wanna say it's Connor Griffin right now, but I would be very curious to see what the end of this season looks like and where Connor Griffin lands on the spectrum of
Very
things,
true.
Yeah.
because I feel like he'll probably be somebody that is up there and is the main character in the next year.
Yeah.
Especially you pair him with Paul
Oh, yeah.
Skeens, they might be unstoppable,
Yeah.
honestly.
I was gonna say, like, which rookie have you seen, like, has stood out to you this year? Which ones are kinda up and coming?
I mean, I'll say this, for the Orioles, we have several that are very good. I am keeping an eye out from the Orioles' perspective on Basayo, Dylan Beavers, and Jeremiah Jackson. I think those 3 together, I mean, they came in towards the end of our season, the end of last season, and they kind of helped turn things around for us in September. Dylan Beavers and Jeremiah Jackson have already kind of really started to do well. I mean, Dylan's had a couple of issues, but I mean, overall, they're getting hits. So I'm really excited to see how the 3 of them do for us on the Orioles.
Someone that Paul Skeens obviously won Rookie of the Year last year. Paul Skeens came up around the same time as Jackson Holiday. Everyone thinks that Jackson Holiday is primed for a breakout year. I don't disagree, but he's coming off of a really strong rookie year. Roman Anthony, again, talk about things not playing out the way that people anticipated. The Red Sox are in last place right now, and Roman Anthony's kind of all over the place.
You know what's interesting that my husband said the other day? He said he actually noticed, he's like, look at the players that played in the WBC, and the ones that played in the WBC did not have a really strong start the first week, any of them. And it's probably, I don't know if they were like drained coming out of the WBC or what, but like Paul Skeens, Aaron Judge, Gunnar didn't have a really great opening weekend. I mean, if you look at some of them, they just, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the little curse of the WBC.
I was throwing up my hands thinking that Skubal only pitched 1 game. Like, I was like, "Thank you, thank you." Even though I was mad during the WBC that he was not there for more games and he was just sitting in the dugout, but I was like, "Come on," and I felt better after. Hallie, what about you?
I'm very guilty of not paying attention to anybody's name unless I hear it more than once. So,
Same, girl, same.
unfortunately, I do not know which rookies I'm keeping track of. I'll just go with whatever Courtney and Melissa say until I figure something else out.
One thing I will say though, about Hallie is that she doesn't realize this, but Junior Caminero, who plays for the Rays, is relatively new to the league, and he had
Okay, so I know
he had a breakout
I
year.
was going to say junior, but I didn't know how, like, if he was still, like, technically in the rookie
He's
zone
not.
of things, because I know because he's, like, 20.
Yeah, he's not a rookie anymore, but he is
Yeah.
still relatively new to the league. Just like Jackson Holiday is not in his rookie year anymore, but he's still
Sure.
relatively new to the league. So, I mean, the prospects that are just coming up right now, I wouldn't expect you to,
Oh,
yeah.
god. Well, then with the support of Courtney, then Junior Caminero is one of my favorite players to watch
There
on
you
the
go.
Rays. I think I'm not even just, like, saying that because Courtney reminded me and, like, confirmed that he is, like, rookie enough for this conversation. Um, I think he engages with fans really well. I think he plays third base really well and I think he hits pretty well. I hope he has I hope I don't know if the Rays is where he's going to have his big career moments, but I think getting to kind of settle into being a professional athlete on a smaller team like this could help launch a very, like, joyful career for him, and I hope that for him.
One thing I do need to point out is that Hallie's favorite player when she was watching the Orioles with me was Cedric Mullins, who now plays for the Rays, and she also loves Junior
Yes.
Caminero, who plays for the Rays, and when they had their first game back at Tropicana Field, they hit the first 2 home runs.
Hallie, you're a good luck
Hallie
charm.
is their
Yes,
good
your
luck
good
charm.
luck
She also
charm.
really loves Yandy Diaz,
And
so that's her trifecta.
Mhm. I
Mhm.
I like all the Rays. I think they're a very fun team to watch. I think, like, I love to, like I'm sure all the teams, everyone gets along pretty well or, like, well enough to work together, but I feel like the Rays, like each other, actually.
Speaking of stats, we can't do a podcast without talking about ABS.
Hell yeah, let's
So,
go!
Let's go, ABS.
What are our initial thoughts? What are we feeling about ABS? And specifically, I've got a real niche question. How are we feeling about the fact that it's a helmet tap?
I have no qualms with the fact that it's a helmet tap. I think that that's
I
yeah,
love
I
it.
think that
It
that's
feels very old
yeah.
school to me. 'Cause at some point, you all know that, like, ABS is gonna be some, like, they all have to wear glasses and, like, blink twice, and there's gonna be a light that pops up.
You're so
Yeah.
You
right.
know that's where it's
Sponsored by
going.
Meta.
So it's like, it feels very old school right now to me, but go ahead, Courtney.
One thing I definitely want to talk about, Ken Rosenthal just submitted an article to The Athletic, and he basically said that the fans with the few weeks that we've had ABS in Major League Baseball, the fans seem to have unrealistic expectations that the
No.
umpires are getting it right every single time and that they need to be perfect and that it's just not realistic. And here's the thing. I don't think that is the issue. I don't think the fans are demanding perfection. And I think that that position is specifically skirting what the real issue is. And I'm referring to some of the egregious calls that we've seen since the season started. And yes, I'm looking at you, CB Buckner, who was not watching first base as the first base
Yeah.
umpire when Jake Bauers clearly hit the bag with his entire foot. Yes, I'm talking to you. So there I last year I watched so many games. And I've watched so many games in the past, not just last year, that were completely uh, I'm going to say ruined by a bad call from the ump at the plate, and there
Mhm.
was no system of checks and balances to ensure that the player that is putting in the work at the plate is being given their due and that the game proceeds as it should based on the work that the player is putting in at the plate. And for me, it is not about those less than an inch, like zero point 0.1 inch calls. Like that is not what it's about for me. It is about the Zach Eflin pitch that is coming right into the middle of the strike zone, and Adley Rutschman is
Yes.
waiting for the ump to say strike one, and he just freezes because the ump says nothing. It's about
Yes.
the calls that,
Yes.
and specifically, if that's on like a 3-2, 2-out count, if that's called incorrectly, it ends an inning. But if it's called correctly, it
Mhm.
gets someone on base or it advances a runner, and it completely changes the outcome of the inning. It completely changes a player's stats. So,
It changes the outcome of a game. What was the game a couple but it
Mhm.
ended the game.
yes.
Like,
Yes,
yeah.
it was us.
Yeah.
Basayo called it, and it was a
Yes.
strike. Yes, and
Yeah.
it ended the
So
game. Yes, it was
it is not
amazing.
about being perfect. It's about getting to the correct outcome of the game. So, let's say there's like so much outcry. I know that, there's some pitchers that aren't necessarily a fan of ABS. Let's just say for whatever reason, they decide to get rid of ABS. I think there still needs to be some type of system of checks and balances at the plate, like
100%.
maybe an extra manager challenge could be extended to the teams to like really take care of like those egregious calls that are going to
Yeah.
change the outcome of an inning or change the outcome of a game. So that's just me. I will step off my
Nope,
soapbox now.
I'm 100% with Courtney. Because that's the pitch that I always think of that she brings up. The Zach Eflin right down the middle. Adley catches it. I think we all saw that last year. And then the ump just called it a ball. I was just like, are you insane? That is clearly a strike. And that is what we needed ABS for last year. I sincerely believe the Orioles season would have been a completely different season last year had we had ABS. And I think it's already changed our season this year. I think it is going to get really interesting. I do like that we have already had one manager ejected because he was trying to fight the robot.
You can't fight
I
the
think that's entertaining.
robots.
You can't fight the robots. I do think I am waiting for the debate of whether or not they tap the helmet. I'm sure that's going to happen several times this year. Like, oh, was he actually tapping the
Yes.
helmet? Was he?
I'm waiting for someone to just do it on accident, like, almost, like, I don't know
Yes.
why you would tap your helmet twice on accident, but I think it's gonna happen at least once where they're like, "Oh, I didn't mean to challenge." Well, too bad,
Exactly.
buddy.
And I
Yeah.
am kind of enjoying the strategy of it now. Now that it's in place and I've seen it for a week, just like when you're seeing the players use it, like Kobe Mayo, I think, used it in the second inning the other day. And I was like, no, Kobe, it's too
It's too early.
early. Don't use the challenge yet.
Mhm.
Like, you save it for like when we actually need it or when it's very, very obvious. Like when it pops up and it's like that much in. It's like, wow. I'm glad that you got it right, but
The other thing is if you've got 2 challenges left and it's, the bottom of the 9th and, there's 1 out, sure, go ahead and use a challenge. But if it's the second
Yeah.
inning,
And I think the players are still adjusting too. Like, I mean, it's an adjustment for everyone. Like, I don't think there's an argument there. It's for umpires, for the pitchers, for the players. I think it's an adjustment all around. But I do think it's. I don't think I'm almost a little underwhelmed by it in a
Yeah.
good way because I remember it was so hyped in the spring training. It was so
Mhm.
hyped that this is going to come out, and I'm almost pleasantly surprised that I don't feel like there has been. I honestly expected a lot more dramatics around it, even this early in the season. People getting mad over the calls, and we really there's been a couple, but it's just I think so almost seamlessly fit into the game and made the game better. I think it's making the umpires better. I think it's making everyone better. That
yeah.
I just I feel so strange saying it, but I'm underwhelmed by it. But it's a good
Yeah.
underwhelming. Hallie, what were you gonna say?
I'm mostly just tickled by how many people's official heights changed at the
Yes,
start of the season.
they all shrink. They're shrinking.
Mhm. And now is it advantageous to be a short king on a baseball team?
I know. It is. I did see an article that was like the short kings are the new kings of baseball because
Mhm.
they are
Yeah.
all shrinking. I love it. Do you think it is adding a level of accountability? I saw another article and they were talking to the umpires. And I'm going to blank on which game, so everyone in the audience don't come at me. But there was a game where they were talking to, maybe it was the Royals, and they were talking to the pitcher and they were like, there was a situation and they all thought the ump was gonna be really mad, and he was like, "No, I love this. I'm getting better through this. I am
Yeah.
getting just better at all of this." And so he's like, there's really of course, I'm sure there's gonna be instances where they're all pissed off.
course.
But I mean, do you think it's adding that level of accountability?
I think it's gonna be like, if there is any secret, betting rings within the professionals in the league, I think it's gonna be a lot harder to, scooch around and, uh, get up to secret activities, and I think that's always a good
I
thing.
think that anybody that
Mhm.
is arguing against ways to improve your efficiency and your accuracy and ways and anyone who is admonishing ways to improve accountability is guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, "You're not doing
Yeah.
your
Those
job
are
right in the
guilty
first place."
behaviors.
Yeah. That's why you
Yes.
don't want it.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
With
Agreed.
with all of this tech, with ABS, I'll even go back to, like, the pitch clock. Do you think it's easier to love what baseball is today than what it was 15, 20 years ago?
I do. I do, especially me, I'm a girl with ADHD. So when I was younger, like, I liked going to baseball because I liked the vibes. I liked being there, but it was really hard for me to pay attention to the game because it involved me staring at the same thing that may or may not be moving for a long time. And especially when I was younger, I feel like my attention span was like all over the place because I was a child. But as an adult, it's made it way easier for me to zero in because like if you don't pay attention, the inning's going to be over and you're not going to know what happened. I think that if you are someone who likes to get swept up in the emotion of the game, it's definitely a lot easier to keep track of it based on how quickly the game progresses now. That's just my take on that.
And I also think that baseball is still able to function at its leisurely pace
Yeah.
that we all know and love. And Courtney is right. It is easier to enjoy the game because it is moving more efficiently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. I will say though, it was funny. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day and we were talking about how the injuries with the pitchers have already started to climb this year. And he plays baseball and he's like, I think it's the pitch clock. And I was kind of trying to Google it to see if there's a correlation between when the pitch clock was introduced and the rise of injuries and pitchers. And it was fairly new research that I had looked at from when the pitch clock had first come about. So I would be curious about that though. Like I'm glad the game is moving faster, but I don't know if it's worth the safety and the well-being of the pitchers.
Yeah.
So I would be curious to see it, like what more studies would show on that. Because there
I
had been a lot of injuries already.
I'm gonna be fascinated with, and this is not an MLB example, but the Golden State Warriors in the NBA, I don't know, what, 5, 6, 10 years ago, took a very, like, tech startup approach and completely revamped it. I think the Rockies are trying to do that right now. I think they are trying to find ways to revamp the franchise through tech. So I'm very curious if this is, like, the next era of Moneyball, of, like, first it
Mhm.
was just having the data and the stats, and now it's how do we put this tech in place, and like I said earlier, I think there's absolutely a time and a place for it. Put all of the smart tech in the stadiums. I want a cell phone charger at my seat.
Same.
Uh,
Oh,
Courtney, you were
yeah.
saying at PNC, like, there are stadiums you can have food delivered to your seat. That sounds amazing. I want an alert that
Mhm.
tells me what bathroom is crowded so I can go to a different one. Put all the tech there. Put it in all of that
Yes.
stuff. I don't know, but I think it remains to be seen. I'm curious of, like, the tech like the pitch clock and ABS and how it does just change the actual game versus how we as fans experience it.
For sure. For sure.
We have a few minutes left, so I wanna focus on y'all. How did Glove actually come about?
So I actually really love telling the story. The podcast was actually Hallie's idea. Cut to last year. I have just been through a divorce. I have just been through like a really terrible breakup. And so what do? I decide to start really hyper focusing on baseball. And when we were going through last season, I started a Ryan O'Hearn fan account on Instagram, and I was following everything really obsessively. It was like my new hyper focus. The Eras tour had ended. I'm a huge Swiftie, so I didn't really have anything else to
Yep. Nothing else
I
to
had
focus
nothing else to
on.
focus on, so I was like, "Baseball!" And that's not to say that I hadn't, followed baseball prior to this, but I hadn't followed it as I'm gonna say obsessively. Um, but eventually Hallie goes, I think that you should have a podcast where you yap about baseball. And so
As any good
as
friend would
any good
say.
friend would. So we just kind of we started, spitballing a couple of ideas for what we would talk about and like what would our regular segments be. So our like keystone segment is Pookie of the Week. That was Hallie's idea.
Yes, so tell Pete, what is that? Because my audience is probably gonna be a little off. What is Pookie of the Week?
So, I always say Pookie is a state of mind. So, usually we pick out someone that we just kind of want to highlight and give a shout out to. At the very, very beginning, it was like straight up, like my first Pookie was Ryan O'Hearn because he's number one in my heart always. So, we talk a lot about the players that we love, but we also want to give shout outs to players that are doing really well or players that might need a little extra boost or just things that we want to shout out that are relevant and topical for what's going on right now. Just players that we want to kind of like put the microphone and the spotlight on. So that's kind of the inspiration behind that segment. And then we looped Melissa in because Melissa, in addition to, she and I met with like the Orioles fan account space. She runs an Orioles fan account, but she also has a Booksta account. We
Oh.
decided that we wanted to kind of highlight some sports romance novels, and we thought that that would be a really fun way
Mhm.
to kind of tie in other media. So I reached out to
Yeah.
Melissa about coming on board and doing like a pre-recorded segment. So when we recorded our first episode, we just had her on as like the guest to try out like, oh, what is it going to be like to do this with three people and kind of like
Yeah.
get the vibes down. And once we recorded the first episode, we all kind of looked at each other and we were like, so this is it, right? And Melissa, to this day, has not done a pre recorded segment. It has been like fully recorded with us every time. Melissa was like, the first time she recorded with us, like, it was like it just made more sense to do it, all three of us. I feel like we all each have our own unique voice that we add to the conversation. And just something about the first episode that we did felt so special. And I'm going to get emo. These two have really, like, seen me through a lot of crap. And this has been, like, really my joy for the last, I don't know. How long have we been doing this?
About
About
6
6
months.
months. So this has really
Mhm.
been my joy.
I
Yeah,
love
this has
it.
really been my joy, and they are such a big part of it. So I couldn't imagine doing this with anybody else.
Is there an all-time glove actually Pookie?
Ooh,
It's either Ryan O'Hearn,
Mhm.
it could be Adley
that's so
Rushman,
true.
and it could be
That's
any
mine.
of the mascots from the
I was
Tampa
gonna
Bay
ask
Rays.
you, could I make Dinger a Pookie? Yeah.
Absolutely, Dinger can be your
Yeah.
Pookie.
I actually I
Yeah.
do have a different Pookie. Can I throw out my
Please,
Pookie of the week?
please.
Yeah.
Again, I'm a Detroit gal, so I'm going with Kevin McGonigal. He had that amazing
Yay!
he made history, that 4-hit MLB debut, and, as a Tigers fan, I do think, I have never had an opening day or the start of a season where you just don't feel hope, but it was kind of, I'll admit I was a little iffy this year after our latter half of the season last year. So to just have that, I was just like, "Oh,
Yeah,
okay." I don't live in Detroit anymore, but I gotta believe he is the reason that fans can go into Comerica Park right now and just kinda hold their head up a little and just have that extra
for
spring in their
sure.
step. So he is my Pookie
Ah,
of the week.
yes. Love it.
Love it.
Um, what has been your favorite interview?
I think, honestly, I mean no disrespect to any of our other guests, but
Never.
the fact that when we found out we were gonna interview Patrick Renna, I was holding my phone and I was shaking. But the other big one that I do wanna give a shout out to is our bestie Michael Welch, who is in all 5 of the Twilight films.
I also want to shout out Kate
Oh, yeah,
Awancio,
for sure.
Yes.
because
Oh, yeah.
she's one of the first interviews that the podcast got to do, and she
Mhm.
is so lovely and supportive and kind to us.
Yes.
And I think it would be a mistake to
Oh,
not
you're absolutely
Yes.
right.
thank
She
her
our
for her
first
loyalty.
author.
She
Oh,
was our
yeah.
first author, and I was gonna say it's not that I don't consider her an author, but now that I've, met her in person, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's my friend Kay." We've had so many amazing opportunities, and it is in no small part due to all the people that have supported us and shared our content thus far. So, all of our listeners, we call them the Glovelies. So, the Glovelies have really, they mean the world to us. So, we love you.
That was a perfect segue. I didn't even set it up, but where can people find Glove
You
Actually?
can find us basically wherever you get your podcasts. So Spotify, Apple, Amazon. We're also on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok. We're on Twitter, but I don't really use it because it's a lot. And we're also on Threads.
And Threads is
Yeah,
more
Threads
fun.
is way more fun, and way less toxic. so, so yeah, we're putting out a bunch of new content. I've just started doing a lot more short form videos for us. So
Mhm.
you're going to see a lot more of that. And then we do have a new segment that's going to be hopefully starting this weekend. We're going to be partnering with our friends at Girls at the Ballpark to talk about some of the top storylines for each week for MLB. So that should be super fun.
I love it. Look at you guys. In less than in 8 months, in 6 to 8 months, look at all you guys have achieved. It's
And it's
amazing.
all I don't think any of it would have been possible if Courtney hadn't worked so hard on this. Like every wonderful thing that has happened to us because of the podcast is because Courtney put in a lot of hard work. She's so driven and wonderful, and she is such a delight.
Courtney's our podcast mom, keeping us in line, keeping us on track.
But before I go, I always end with kind of I don't call it controversial question, but maybe just, an out there question. So it's not controversial for y'all. But before we go, each of you, give us one good thing you are looking forward to in baseball this year. Melissa, I'm going to go to you first.
Oh, hitting me hard first. Look, all I want this year is I want the Orioles to make the playoffs. Look, I don't want to be, unrealistic. World Series would be amazing. I don't know if the World Series is possible, but I would love for the Orioles to make it to the playoffs. That's all I want. Wild card, I don't care. Come on, Orioles, let's do it. Please. Please, let's do it.
Hallie, what about you?
I would love for the Rays or the Rockies to wild card into the World Series. I think that would be so much fun, and I think it's time either of them were back in consideration.
I am a Baltimore girl, so I have to put my support behind the Orioles. However, in 2024 and 2025, my Pookie Supreme Ryan O'Hearn has made it to the postseason in 2024 with the Orioles and in 2025 with the Padres. So I'm hoping that Ryan O'Hearn can get a three-peat and go to the postseason. Actually, wait, this would be the fourth year because they made the postseason in 2023.
Yes, because they made
They made
in
it in
2023, yeah.
2023 with the
Mhm.
Orioles, so he had 2 years with the
Yeah.
Orioles, a year with the Padres, so I'm hoping the Pirates will make it so he can make it 4.
I'm gonna call that yours is probably gonna be the most realistic this point in time, but
You never
yes. Who
know.
knows?
I'm
There's
right
still a lot of season
always
left.
about baseball, actually, Melissa.
Yes.
So be ready to see the Rays or the Rockies wild carded in.
Yes.
I'm gonna go. I do have to maybe get on the Rockies bandwagon of like that would be such an incredible turnaround, a story. Like, yes, I would be all for that. I should start buying my tickets now though, if that happens, because I can afford them right now. So maybe I will do that after this
There
call.
you go.
And I mean, I'm always gonna be I'm always gonna be Tigers, in the World Series. I guess maybe to temper my expectations a little, the playoff game last year that went like 14, 15 innings, that was just an incredible game to watch. I think I just want that. Like, I want one of those again this year. And I know that puts, like, I'm sorry to all the players, that puts a strain on you. It's exhausting, it's tiring. But, like, that was just a moment that I was like, I love this is why I love baseball. This kind of game.
How can you not be romantic about baseball?
I know. And it was the fact that it was, my team. So if they can't make it to the World Series and go all the way and win, give me just a great, great baseball game
Yeah.
like that, and I'll be happy.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, ladies, thank you for coming on. You are welcome on anytime. This has been so much fun.
Of course. Thank you so much for having us. And I was going to say, you are actually going to be on Glove Actually a little bit later this season. So your listeners are going to
I
have to stay
am.
tuned for that. So that's going to be super fun.
Yes, everyone should follow y'all because then they can catch me a little.
Yes.
Thanks for spending time with us in the middle. If today's story caught your attention, drop a subscribe, share the episode, follow us on social media, and remember, it ain't over till it's over.